Last night was AEW Full Gear. One of the four quarterly pay-per-views annually that AEW does. And it was quite the rebound from All Out. All Out was not a terrible show, but I thought was the weakest of all the big AEW shows this year. This one was probably the best of all the AEW shows this year, and one of the best pay-per-views, just in general, of 2020. I thought it was an excellent show, top to bottom. Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston had a fairly brutal main event. Not as much bloodshed as you might have thought, but there was blood. There were thumbtacks, and there was some barbed wire. There was rubbing alcohol being poured on the thumbtack wounds on Jon Moxley's back. So there was a fair amount of brutality in this match, with the outcome that everybody would have predicted, which was a Jon Moxley win. So he gets a second win over Eddie Kingston. We had Kenny Omega and Hangman Page actually open the show last night with an excellent opener. Probably the best opener on any AEW show ever. That was the finals of the World Title Eliminator Tournament. And Kenny Omega picks up the win. No funny business, no cheating, no questions about anything. It was on the up and up. Just a straight, clean win. Hard-fought match for Omega. And he will get the next shot, or at least he will be getting a shot. I shouldn't say he'll get the next one, because we don't know when it's going to come. And I think the most appropriate and likely place for it would be the Revolution pay-per-view, which doesn't come until February 27th, as we found out last night. So that's a long time. I mean, we're still in the early part of November. I would think that Jon Moxley is going to defend his championship before then. So look, I mean, maybe the match happens before Revolution, or Moxley can defend against someone like Brian Cage, who I believe is listed at number 1 in the rankings. And Omega can just sort of sit on his shot until early next year. But that is the match they are building towards now. It is a rematch from the main event of last year's Full Gear, where Kenny Omega lost in that non-sanctioned death match, lights out match, to Jon Moxley. I think when they finally meet, Omega gets his win back. I think Omega is going to be the one to take the title from Jon Moxley. And then you can begin the story of the climb back up to the top for Hangman Page, who eventually will challenge his former tag team partner for the championship later on in the year next year. So that's how I see that playing out. But that was an excellent match between these two. MJF got a win over Chris Jericho, hooking the tights, heel versus heel, so you knew they were going to try to potentially out-cheat one another, and MJF got the better of it, and so he now is officially a part of the Inner Circle. He and Wardlow have now joined the Inner Circle, and now I think he can begin to try to turn the other members of the Inner Circle against Jericho over a period of time. I think that's what we'll see. I think he's going to try to outsmart Jericho and get him ousted from his own group. Does that lead to a babyface Chris Jericho? Possibly, but it's not going to happen right away. You take your time with it. You can get some pretty entertaining television out of it. Young Bucks are now the AEW World Tag Team Champions for the first time in their career. Excellent match with FTR. Started very slow, although that was by design. And I made the comment on the stream last night. I don't want to hear this nonsense anymore that, the Young Bucks, they're all just high spots. They have no ring psychology. You can't watch a match like last night and say that anymore. And I say that because I was fairly bored for the first 8 to 10 minutes of this. It was going a little too slow, a little too much focus on the bad ankle, but that's wrestling psychology 101. Pick a body part that's hurt coming into the match and you work on it. It doesn't always make for the most exciting match, but it built and it built and it built, and I thought that the closing stretch especially was excellent. I think that for their first meeting, after all these years of hype, I thought it lived up to expectation. It is not the only match I expect these two teams to have. And my one real criticism was the same criticism I had coming in, which is the additional stipulation that the Bucks had added of, if we don't win, we will never, ever again challenge for the AEW tag team titles. Now that we've gotten beyond the pay-per-view, I can look back and say what I said a couple of weeks ago, which is that this was a completely unnecessary stipulation. I guess they felt they wanted to add some more drama. It was unnecessary. it was unnecessary. And all it did, I think, for a lot of people was probably spoil the outcome. It just made it very obvious that the Bucks were probably going to win unless they just repeated the exact same angle they did a year ago with Cody when Cody lost, and now Cody can't challenge for the world title. Why would you do the same thing with the Bucks? Why would you put yourself in that position? But that would be my only critique. I thought the match was excellent. Darby Allin is the new TNT champion with a win over Cody. Kind of a shock win. Cody was taking a good part of the match, and it was a series of cradles and reversals back and forth, and Darby got lucky on one of them. And Cody, for all of the little heel tendencies that we've seen from him in recent months, if they are turning him, and I think they still probably are, it didn't come last night. He presented the belt to Darby. He didn't lay a finger on him. Taz came out. Brian Cage and Ricky Starks attacked. So what they've now done is, if they want to do it, they've set up a tag team match, maybe on Dynamite in the next couple of weeks, or maybe even this week, with Darby tagging with Cody, if this is what they want to do, against Cage and Ricky Starks. Does Cody turn on Darby? Very possible. Because I don't think Cody is going away as far as this program and working with these guys, because what else is there really for him to do at the moment? I don't know what his next obvious program is, especially if he can't challenge for the world title. I'm not sure what else that would be. And I don't know that he's going to necessarily just kind of walk away after losing and just let Darby have the title without wanting to get another shot. So I thought they had a very good match. And it was the right outcome. Darby Allin, that title was made for someone like Darby Allin. Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara, hopefully this feud is now over. This was a nice stamp on the end of the story last night. The Elite Deletion match, the cinematic match from the Hardy compound. A lot of shenanigans, a lot of comedy. A bit of long-term storytelling with the cameo from Hurricane Helms. We had a Gangrel cameo in the match. So much happened here. If you want my full thoughts on it, just go back and watch the review from last night. It was exactly as crazy and out there and over the top as you would expect a Hardy compound match to be. But Matt got the win in the end, and Sammy Guevara literally got put in the garbage can and was shipped off somewhere. We don't know where. He was driven off in the back of a pickup truck by Senor Benjamin. So we may not see Sammy for a while. We may not see Sammy on TV this week. And then the two women's title matches, I think I enjoyed the NWA women's title match on the buy-in show more than I did the AEW women's title match. It wasn't a bad match. It was just, again, a lot of focus on the knee of Shida. Nyla Rose working over the knee. Shida by the end looked completely exhausted. That was probably the point, right? She gave it everything she had, collapsed basically on top of Nyla in the end, got the win. I just enjoyed the NWA match. Was a more basic, straightforward wrestling match. Allison Kay was making her debut appearance in AEW. I thought she looked good. I certainly think that she's worthy of a second look. If she is not signed, I think she could be a good addition. If she is a free agent, right? If she's not under contract to the NWA or anyone else at the moment, I think she can make for a good addition to that women's roster. But Serena Deeb retains her title. Shida retains her title. That was the right outcome because I think Britt Baker, we haven't seen too much of the Doctor on TV in recent weeks. I think Britt Baker now is positioned to be the heel that takes that championship from Shida. If Nyla Rose had won the title, I just can't see a program between Baker and Nyla. But Baker and Shida, that I can see. So, just a very good night of wrestling. If you missed the show, you want my full thoughts, it is up on YouTube right now. And hey, this Wednesday we get the rematch between Pentagon and Phoenix. Penta and Phoenix, round 2. Coming up on Wednesday night live on Dynamite. Meanwhile, New Japan held its Power Struggle show Friday night in Osaka with some big implications for the Tokyo Dome shows coming up at the beginning of January. Jay White beat Kota Ibushi to win the briefcase that will now allow him to receive a double championship match at Wrestle Kingdom. The first time that the G1 Climax winner has ever lost his briefcase that entitles him to an IWGP title match at Wrestle Kingdom and is now in the hands of Jay White. He cheated to win. He had Ibushi in a backslide and he put his feet up on the ropes for leverage. Not a fan of that finish, but it is a nice little twist. You know, Ibushi just won back-to-back G1s. So it's not as if this hurts him in any way. Later on, Naito beat Evil to retain the IWGP title and the IWGP Intercontinental title. That should be the final nail in Evil's coffin for the time being. Jay White came out after he said he was going to challenge Naito on January 5th. So night 2, because they're doing back-to-back nights again at the Dome. Night 2 of Wrestle Kingdom, even though the briefcase says January 4th on it, but he's getting his match on January 5th. He says he's going to take the night off on January 4th. He doesn't care what happens on January 4th. He wants his shot on night 2. And then Kota Ibushi came out and chased him away, and we now know Tetsuya Naito was at the Wrestle Kingdom press conference earlier this morning. Hot off the presses here. There's a press conference this morning and Naito spoke. And he said that, yes, he will wrestle Jay White on night 2 on January 5th. But he wants to wrestle an opponent of his choosing on night 1 on January 4th. And he wants that opponent to be Kota Ibushi. He says since Ibushi won the G1, he felt that he deserved a championship match. He said Ibushi won the G1 back-to-back years, something he never did. And he told New Japan officials to consider his idea. He even suggested that he might boycott both nights of Wrestle Kingdom if he does not get what he wants. What a prima donna. So now it's set up where Ibushi will get the shot on night 1, and then the winner of that will go on to defend against Jay White on night 2. Now, I never thought Ibushi would not get his shot at the Dome, but what I figured would happen is that Jay White would end up... I mean, he said he wouldn't wrestle on night 1, but whatever. Something would happen that would either force him or would in some way coerce him into accepting a challenge on night 1 to a rematch for the briefcase against Kota Ibushi. And what would happen is that he would lose his shot back to Ibushi on night 1, and then Ibushi would go on night 2 to win both titles from Naito, and he would leave Wrestle Kingdom as the double champion. Now I'm a little less sure of Ibushi leaving with both belts. I would still like to see it. I would like to see Wrestle Kingdom end with Kota Ibushi as the IWGP champion. But who knows what New Japan may have in mind here. Remember, everybody was convinced that it was Naito's time, right? Remember 2-3 years ago? This is Naito's time. And then it didn't happen. And there are still people who think that, Geto waited too long. Sometimes you got to strike when the iron is hot. And if you miss your window, if you wait another 6 months, or you wait another 3 months, or another 12 months, you may not get the same reaction. The magic may not be there anymore. So there are still people, and I don't know that I don't subscribe to the same theory that, they may have waited a little too long to give Naito that big win. I don't want to see them do the same thing with Ibushi. I think that he's the right man. I think he should be the one walking out with both belts. In order to do that, he's going to have to win on both nights. He's going to have to win back-to-back nights. Kenta retained his briefcase for a shot at the IWGP United States Championship in a real good match over Hiroshi Tanahashi. That sets up a possible match with Kenta and Jon Moxley at Wrestle Kingdom. Remember, Moxley is easy to forget. He is still the United States champion, if he can travel in for the show. My guess is that he would have to fly in a couple of weeks early, and then he may have to quarantine after coming back for 2 weeks. And AEW is going to have to sign off on that because he's their champion. And if that's the case, he may have to miss a couple of Dynamite shows if he's not available. But it does look like that's what they're setting up for. Otherwise, I don't know what the hell Kenta does at Wrestle Kingdom. But it looks like Kenta and Moxley is the direction that they're preparing for. Will Ospreay challenged Okada to a match at Wrestle Kingdom, doing his best NWA Ric Flair impersonation with the suit and the way he was speaking and the way he was acting. He's no Ric Flair. Not on the mic. But he was doing his damnedest. So that match is official. And finally here, Shingo Takagi regained the Never Openweight Championship in my favorite match from the show. Should be no surprise. Against Minoru Suzuki. I don't know what either of these men do at the Dome. Shingo, I'm not sure of there being any obvious next challenger for him unless you run these two back one last time. I certainly wouldn't mind that. All three of their recent matches that I've watched have been very good to fantastic. So, you want to run it back one more time? Let's do it. Let's do Shingo and Suzuki one more time. But that is your New Japan update as we get closer and closer to Wrestle Kingdom in January.